On Christmas Day, my daughter told me, "Wait at the airport, Dad. I'll be there to get you soon." But I waited for over 8 hours. I called her 35 times, and nobody came. Instead of a warm hug, I got a cold betrayal from my own flesh and blood, who prefers an inheritance over her father. When I finally got to her house in a cab, I was shocked by what I saw. Before we continue, hit subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. The gift bags dug into my fingers as I stepped off the plane at O'Hare International. December 25th, 2:47 p.m., Christmas Day. The terminal was buzzing with families hugging, kids shrieking with joy, couples kissing under plastic mistletoe hanging from the exit signs. I readjusted the weight of my packages. 6 bags in total, each one carefully picked out over weeks of planning. The jewelry box for Amanda held her grandmother's emerald necklace, Sarah's favorite piece, which I had saved specifically for this moment. For little Mia, the doll she'd mentioned during our last FaceTime, the cashmere scarf for Mark. It came from that little boutique Sarah loved so much. A family next to me burst into laughter as a little boy launched himself into his grandfather's arms. The old man spun him around while the parents snapped photos. My chest felt tight with anticipation. Soon, that would be me with Mia. I pulled out my phone and dialed Amanda's number. "Dad?" Her voice sounded flat, distracted. "Amanda, I'm here, sweetheart. I just landed. The flight was smooth and... Oh, right, Dad, we're running a little late. Just wait for us at arrivals. We'll be there soon." Something in her tone made me pause. No excitement, no warmth, just obligation. "Is everything okay? You sound..." "Everything's fine. We're just dealing with some last-minute Christmas chaos. You know how it is." I didn't know how it was. Sarah and I had always been ready way in advance for family arrivals. We'd circle the pickup loop 3 times rather than make someone wait. "Should I get my bags and head to baggage claim, or do you want me to..." "Dad, I really gotta go. Just wait by the arrival doors. We'll figure it out when we get there." The line went dead. I stared at my phone for a moment. Around me, families continued their happy reunions. A woman my age was hugging her son so tight I thought she might crack his ribs. He didn't seem to mind. The baggage carousel rattled to life. I collected my suitcase and dragged everything toward the exit doors. The gift bags swayed against my legs with every step. Outside, snow was falling in gentle flakes, coating the pickup lanes in a pristine white. I found a spot near the automatic doors where families tended to gather. Other travelers streamed past me toward waiting cars. Engines hummed, doors slammed shut, tires crunched on the slush. I checked my watch. 3:05 p.m. A young father hurried past carrying a car seat in one hand and pulling a suitcase with the other. His wife followed, chatting excitedly about plans for Christmas dinner. Their voices faded as they disappeared into the parking garage. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda, still delayed. Be patient, not sorry or we're hurrying or can't wait to see you. Just be patient. I placed my gift bags at my feet like colorful sentinels. The jewelry box was on top of Amanda's pile. Inside that small velvet case were 3 generations of family history. Sarah's mother had worn those emeralds at her wedding. Sarah had worn them at ours. Now they would go to Amanda. Another family walked by. The teenage daughter rolled her eyes at something her mom said, but she was smiling, really smiling. The kind of smile that said she was exactly where she wanted to be. I opened Amanda's contact info again. My thumb hovered over her name. Maybe I should call Mark instead. He always picked up. But something stopped me. Amanda had said they were dealing with Christmas chaos. Maybe I was overthinking it. The automatic doors hissed open and closed as travelers came and went. Every time I looked up, hopeful. Every time, strangers passed by without a glance. 3:15 p.m. I shifted my weight from one foot to the other. The excitement I'd felt getting off the plane was curdling into something else, something uncomfortable, like wearing a sweater that had shrunk in the wash. It still fit, but nothing felt quite right. The security guard walked past, nodding politely. I nodded back and checked my phone again. No new messages, no missed calls, just the lock screen photo I'd taken of Mia last Christmas. Her toothless grin beamed under our old Christmas tree. This Christmas tree would be different. Amanda had sent pictures of their new house. All the decor was white and silver, perfect, clinical. Nothing like the chaotic explosion of homemade ornaments Sarah and I had always preferred. But that was okay. People changed. They grew up. They made their own traditions. I just wished Amanda had sounded happier to hear from me. The snow outside was getting thicker. I could see it swirling under the streetlights that had clicked on automatically, even though it was the afternoon. December in the city. I'd forgotten how dark it got. How fast. My watch now read 3:20 p.m. Still early. Traffic could be terrible on Christmas Day. I remembered it from when Amanda was little and we'd drive to my mom's house. All those families on the road at once, everyone running a bit behind. I pulled my coat tighter and settled in to wait. Stepping away from the main flow of travelers, I spotted a row of padded chairs near the large windows. Perfect. I dragged my suitcase over and carefully arranged the gift bags at my feet like a colorful fortress. Each bag had been chosen specifically. Deep burgundy for Amanda, forest green for Mark, and a cheerful red and gold for little Mia. But the real surprises weren't in these bags. I reached into my coat's inner pocket and felt the crisp edges of 3 envelopes. Bearing a local bank's letterhead, each was sealed with the kind of weight that signaled serious business. Inside Amanda's envelope, a certified check for $50,000. Mark's held the same amount. The third envelope, marked College Fund, held $75,000 earmarked for my granddaughter's future. $175,000 Christmas morning generosity. After Sarah died, selling my auto parts business had been the hardest decision of my life. 30 years building that business from a single garage into 12 thriving branches across the state. But walking those familiar aisles, with her laughter no longer echoing from the office, seeing employees who remembered when she brought in homemade cookies every Friday, it became unbearable. The $2.8 million sale had given me options, conservative investments, financial security, and most importantly, the ability to show my family exactly how much they meant to me. I pulled out Amanda's envelope and ran my thumb over the sealed edge. $50,000 represented months of careful planning. Not enough to seem excessive or create dependency, but substantial enough to make a real difference. Maybe she could finally stop worrying about household expenses. Maybe she and Mark could take that European vacation they'd mentioned last year. A young couple passed by, the woman gripping a baby carrier while her partner juggled 2 toddlers in a diaper bag. They moved with the frantic energy of new parents trying to manage a Christmas trip. I remembered those days, Amanda at 18 months, screaming through her first flight while Sarah and I took turns walking her up and down the airplane aisle. Now, Amanda was the mom, the responsible adult, the one dealing with Christmas chaos and running late because life with kids meant nothing ever went according to plan. I checked my watch again, 3:35 p.m. Still reasonable. The college fund had been Sarah's idea, really. She'd mentioned it during one of our last conversations before the cancer took her voice completely. Promise me you'll make sure Mia and any other grandkids get a proper education. College is getting more and more expensive. I had held her hand and promised. This check fulfilled that promise, and then some. Settling deeper into the chair, I organized the gift bags by recipient. Amanda's burgundy bag held the emerald necklace that had belonged to Sarah's grandmother. 3 generations of women in the family had worn those stones. Now they would adorn Amanda's neck, connecting her to a legacy of strong women who had built something meaningful. My phone vibrated, another traveler calling someone, their voice echoing in the waiting area. Stuck in traffic, but we'll be there soon, I promise. Soon. That's what Amanda had said. Soon. I adjusted the gift bag so the bows wouldn't get crushed and leaned back to watch the steady stream of families reuniting near the exit doors. Every hug reminded me why this wait was worth it. The checks in my pocket represented more than money. They were proof of a father's love, carefully planned and executed with precision. When Amanda saw the $50,000 amount, her eyes would light up the same way they did when she was a kid and found the bike she'd wanted so badly under our Christmas tree. When Mark realized his father-in-law had thought to include him equally, his respect for me would deepen. And when I explained the college fund, they would both understand that I wasn't just thinking about today. I was investing in their child's future. And that was worth every minute of waiting. By 4:30 p.m., the padded chair had become uncomfortable. My back ached from sitting in the same position, and the gift bags seemed heavier every time I adjusted them. The airport entrance doors slid open and closed with mechanical precision, bringing in gusts of December air that cut through my wool coat. I checked my watch. 4:47 p.m. It was time to find somewhere warmer. Gathering my belongings now required strategic planning. The suitcase handle in my right hand, 3 gift bags looped over my left arm, the remaining bags clutched in my left fist. I shuffled toward the main terminal area, away from those treacherous, cold-drafting entrance doors. The coffee shop near Gate B15 offered a small table and chairs that looked marginally more comfortable. I organized my colorful fortress of gift bags around the table legs and ordered a coffee from a tired-looking barista who wished me a Merry Christmas with practiced efficiency. 5:15 p.m. The coffee warmed my hands but couldn't touch the chill that had settled deep in my bones. Other travelers moved past my table with purpose. Families heading to boarding gates, couples embracing after successful pickups, business travelers checking phones as they walked briskly toward the exits. Everyone, except me, seemed to know exactly where they were going and when they would get there. I pulled out my phone and stared at Amanda's contact info. No missed calls, no new messages since that short, "be patient" text hours ago. Traffic couldn't be that bad, not for 3 hours. At 6 p.m., hunger gnawed at my stomach. I bought an overpriced sandwich from the coffee shop and ate mechanically while watching the entrance area through the windows. Every time a family approached, my pulse quickened. Every time strangers walked by, the disappointment sank deeper into my chest. 6:45 p.m. Christmas dinner time. Families all over the country were gathering around tables, sharing stories, opening gifts. I was sitting alone in an airport coffee shop, guarding gift bags like some lost and found mall Santa. The rational part of my mind offered explanations. Holiday traffic, last-minute holiday preparations. Maybe Mia had gotten sick and they'd needed to find a babysitter. Amanda had always been dramatic about minor inconveniences, but the nagging voice in the back of my head whispered different possibilities. 7:30 p.m. The coffee shop started to close down, chairs being stacked on tables, the barista wiping counters with obvious exhaustion. Time to move again. I relocated to a seating area near the main information desk, closer to the airport's central heating system. My expensive leather shoes had developed uncomfortable pressure points from standing and walking with heavy bags. The emerald necklace box pressed against my ribs through my coat pocket, a reminder of the love I had brought to share. 8:15 p.m., nearly 6 hours since landing. This was beyond holiday traffic, beyond any reasonable delay. I found a quiet corner near the restrooms and dialed Amanda's number with fingers that felt stiff from the cold. The phone rang twice before her voice came on, sharp and distracted. "Dad, what is it now?" Now? As if I'd been calling constantly instead of waiting patiently for hours. "Sweetheart, I've been waiting for quite a while. How much longer do you think you'll be?" "Just 15 more minutes tops, Dad, and don't even think about calling a cab." The line went dead before I could ask why a cab would be a problem. I stared at my phone. 15 minutes, tops. After 6 hours, she could promise 15 minutes with such certainty, and why the emphatic ban on calling a cab? If they were really delayed by traffic or an emergency, wouldn't a cab be the logical solution? The questions multiplied in my mind like cracks in ice. Warmth. That's what I needed. The cafeteria near Terminal A glowed with warm light and the promise of hot food. I dragged my collection of bags across the polished floor, each step echoing my exhaustion. 8 hours since landing, 8 hours of Amanda's empty promises. A small table near the windows offered refuge. I placed the gift bags around the table legs like colorful guards, each one representing thousands of dollars of thoughtful preparation. The emerald necklace, the college fund, the $50,000 checks that were supposed to bring joy, not humiliation. "Can I get you something?" The cafeteria worker looked at me with practiced kindness. "Just a black coffee, and whatever soup you have." The tomato soup arrived lukewarm, but I wrapped my cold hands around the bowl anyway. Steam rose from the surface, fogging my glasses. Through the condensation, my reflection looked like a stranger. Tired, aged, foolish, $200,000. That's what Amanda's education had cost me. The numbers surfaced from the depths of my memory with crystal clarity. 6 years of private university, graduate school, sorority dues, studying abroad in Italy. I had worked overtime at my auto parts business every single weekend for 4 years straight to pay those bills. While other dads my age were playing golf or taking weekend trips with their wives, I was in the shop ordering inventory, balancing books, earmarking every dollar for Amanda's future. Sarah had warned me. "You're spoiling her, Arthur. She never says thank you for anything." But I brushed off her concerns. Amanda was ambitious, driven. She deserved every opportunity money could buy. The soup went cold as the memories flooded in. Amanda's graduation day, when I had driven 8 hours to attend her ceremony. She spent 15 minutes with me before rushing off to celebrate with friends. No mention of the sacrifices, no acknowledgement of the extra shifts I'd worked to pay for that diploma. Her wedding, where she seemed embarrassed by my simple speech about hard work and family values. Mark's parents, educated, sophisticated, had delivered eloquent toasts about literature and philosophy. I had talked about the dignity of honest work. The Christmas mornings when she opened expensive gifts with a casual expectation, as if my generosity was her birthright instead of my choice. Every memory stung more than the last. I pulled out my wallet and looked at the 3 sealed envelopes inside. $175,000 in certified checks, more money than most people saw in years, casually dismissed with a "be patient" and "don't call a cab." The cab ban still baffled me. If they were genuinely delayed, why forbid the obvious solution? Unless they weren't delayed at all. The thought hit me like cold air through an open door. What if Amanda just didn't want to pick me up? What if this was intentional neglect, designed to teach me some lesson about convenience or expectations? I thought about the luxury car I had helped her buy for college, the apartment deposit I had covered, the credit card bills I had paid without question, every gesture of love translated into financial support, every expression of care measured in dollars. Had I raised a daughter or created a creditor? A young family sat at the table across from me, sharing French fries while their toddler colored with crayons. The parents took turns wiping the child's fingers, laughing at his artistic efforts. Simple moments, free moments, the kind of Christmas memory that didn't require checkbooks or sacrifice. When had my relationship with Amanda become purely transactional? My phone lay silent on the table. No calls, no texts, no explanation for why her 15 minutes tops had stretched past 30 minutes. I checked my expensive watch, the one Amanda had given me 3 Christmases ago, probably bought with money I had transferred to her account. 9:05 p.m. Christmas dinner time. Families across the country were gathered around tables, sharing stories and gratitude. I was sitting alone in an airport cafeteria, surrounded by gift bags that suddenly felt like evidence of my own stupidity. Something was wrong. The realization hit me as I stared at my phone, the time clicking over to 9:15 p.m. Not just delayed, not just inconsiderate. Something was wrong. I checked my call log. 31 attempts to dial Amanda's number, 4 attempts to Mark's phone, all unanswered, all ignored. No returned calls, no explanatory texts, just silence stretching across 7 hours of Christmas Day. My hands were shaking as I dialed Amanda's number again, straight to voicemail. "Amanda, it's Dad. Call 32. Please, sweetheart. I'm getting really worried now. It's after 9 p.m. on Christmas night. Just let me know you're okay. Call 33 to Mark. Voicemail. Mark, it's Arthur. Where is everyone? I've been waiting at the airport for 7 hours. Please call me back. Call 34 to Amanda. Ringing, ringing, ringing. Voicemail. Call 35. My fingers, stiff from cold and exhaustion, fumbled on the numbers. Voicemail again. 35 calls. No car accident makes people ignore 35 calls. No family delayed by traffic for 7 hours communicates nothing. There was no reasonable explanation for this level of silence, unless they were deliberately avoiding me. The thought hit me like ice water in the veins. I pushed it away immediately. No. Amanda could be selfish and ungrateful, but she wouldn't be cruel. Not this cruel. But what if something had happened? What if they were in a hospital somewhere, injured, unable to call? What if Mia was sick and they were too focused on caring for her to answer their phones? I gathered my gift bags with trembling hands. Time to act. Time to find out what was going on. The main departure area was buzzing with late-night activity. Travelers arriving on delayed flights, families completing holiday reunions, cab drivers holding signs, waiting for their fares. I found the taxi pickup area and pulled out my phone again. "Cab company," the dispatcher answered with practiced efficiency. "I need a cab to Highland Park from O'Hare." My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "Which terminal?" "Main terminal. Door 507, east side." "Address in Highland Park?" I recited Amanda's address, the house I had helped with the down payment for, another $20,000 I had provided, with no questions asked and no thank you given. "Fare will be about $65. Cab should be there in 12 minutes. 12 minutes after 7 hours. 12 more minutes seemed like nothing. I stood near the designated pickup spot and checked my phone one last time. No missed calls, no text messages, no explanations. 9:25 p.m. Christmas dinner was long over. Families across the country were settling into their evening routines, watching movies, playing board games, kids drifting off to sleep surrounded by torn wrapping paper and new toys. I was standing outside an airport in the December cold, hauling gift bags worth thousands of dollars, waiting for a cab to take me to a house where my own family might be deliberately avoiding me. The yellow cab pulled up at 9:27 on the dot. The driver, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, helped me load my bags into the trunk. "Christmas visit?" he asked as I settled into the back seat. "Something like that." The cab pulled away from the airport pickup zone, and I watched the terminal lights grow smaller in the back window. Over 8 hours of waiting, 35 unanswered calls, and $175,000 in Christmas gifts. Either my family was in serious trouble, or I was about to find out just how little I meant to the people I had sacrificed everything for. The cab's heater blasted my face, but it couldn't touch the cold that had settled in my chest. Over 8 hours, 35 unanswered calls. The numbers repeated in my mind like a broken record as Mike drove through the city's holiday traffic. "Long day at the airport?" he asked, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. "Been waiting, 8 hours, for family pickup." 8 hours? His eyebrows shot up. "Christmas travel's rough, family reunion, something like that. My daughter and her husband." The words felt strange in my mouth. Family reunion implied joy, anticipation, warmth. What word described this? "They must be excited to see you," Mike said with genuine kindness. I looked out the window at the houses decorated with Christmas lights. Behind those glowing windows, I imagined families gathered around trees, sharing stories. Grandparents holding sleepy children, normal families. "I hope so," I finally replied, though hope was feeling more and more fragile. The gift bags shifted slightly as Mike took a turn. I steadied them automatically, my hands brushing against the expensive wrapping paper. Each bag represented hours of careful selection, thousands of dollars of thoughtful generosity. The emerald necklace alone was worth more than most people's monthly salary. When was the last time Amanda bought me a gift that wasn't out of obligation? When was the last time she called just to talk, not needing money or a favor? 2 Christmases ago. The memory surfaced with uncomfortable clarity. I had driven 4 hours to spend the holiday with Amanda's family. She had been distracted through the whole dinner, constantly checking her phone, texting while I was talking about the business I was considering selling. When I gave her the expensive pearl earrings, a suggestion from Sarah the year before she died, Amanda had thanked me politely and immediately turned back to her phone. I'd made excuses back then. New mom, busy with Mia, overwhelmed with hosting. But now, looking at these gift bags in Mike's cab, I remembered the sting of feeling invisible in my own daughter's home. "You from around here?" Mike asked, breaking my uncomfortable daydream. "Built a business here, auto parts, 30 years. "That's impressive. Family business?" "I thought it would be." The admission slipped out before I could stop it. "My daughter went to college, grad school, better opportunities than working with her old man." Mike nodded thoughtfully. "Education's important, but a family business. That's special too. My son works with me part-time, helps with dispatch." The casual way he mentioned his son, present tense, active involvement, highlighted everything missing in my relationship with Amanda. When was the last time she showed any interest in my business? Even when I was considering the sale, her questions focused on the money, not the legacy I was ending. 10:15 p.m. We drove through a neighborhood where every house glowed with lights. A family was walking on the sidewalk, parents holding a small child's hands between them, their laughter carrying through the cab's windows. Beautiful night for Christmas, Mike observed. Beautiful for some. For others, it was turning into the loneliest night of the year. My phone lay silent in my lap. No missed calls, no apologetic texts, no explanation for over 8 hours of deliberate silence. Because that's what it was now, wasn't it? Deliberate. 35 calls aren't ignored by accident. Emergency rooms have phones. If they were dealing with a crisis, someone would have answered, someone would have called back, someone would have cared enough to ease a father's worry. The uncomfortable truth settled on me like a lead weight. Amanda was ignoring me. On Christmas Day, after I'd flown across the country with gifts worth more than many people's annual income. "We're almost there," Mike announced as we turned onto Amanda's street. "What's the house number?" I gave him the address, the house I'd helped buy in the neighborhood I'd made possible for the daughter who couldn't be bothered to return her father's calls. Mike pulled into the driveway behind a silver Mercedes and a blue BMW. 2 cars, both with local plates, both clearly functional. "Looks like you've got a full house," Mike observed cheerfully. Through the cab window, I looked into Amanda's living room. A golden light spilled out onto the perfectly manicured, snow-covered lawn. Inside, I could see figures moving around a dining room table. Laughter, wine glasses, the unmistakable warmth of a family Christmas celebration. Without me. "Sir, that'll be $68, $50. I handed Mike $75 with trembling fingers. "Keep the change." "You sure you're okay? You look—" "I'm fine." The lie came out automatically. Mike helped me unload my bags from the trunk, 6 gift bags and 1 suitcase, all the evidence of a father's careful preparation for a reunion that was never intended to happen. As his cab pulled away, I stood alone on the sidewalk. The cold air cut through my coat. 35 unanswered calls. Over 8 hours of waiting. And here they were, celebrating Christmas exactly as they had planned all along. I walked carefully up to the picture window. Robert was sitting at the head of the table, gesturing animatedly as he told some story. Linda was laughing, refilling wine glasses. Mark was nodding and smiling. Amanda, my daughter, the recipient of a $200,000 education, looked completely relaxed, utterly content. None of them looked worried. None of them looked like people waiting for a missing family member. My legs felt weak. I set down the heaviest gift bag and leaned against the porch railing. The emerald necklace box pressed against my ribs, a sharp reminder of a love misplaced. The front door had a cheerful wreath on it. Amanda had always loved Christmas decorations. I'd bought her her first Christmas tree when she was 7, helped her string the lights every year until she left for college. Now she had a beautiful house, professional decorations, and a family celebration specifically designed to exclude her father. I rang the doorbell. There were footsteps, the door swung open, and Amanda's face appeared in the gap, flushed with wine, relaxed from dinner, and completely unprepared for what she saw. Her expression flashed through a series of emotions in seconds. Surprise, confusion, then something close to panic. "Dad!" Her voice was too high. "You're here. I'm so sorry. We had a flat tire on the way to get you." I stepped forward with my bags. Amanda had no choice but to move aside. "A flat tire?" I pointed toward the driveway. "I see 2 cars out there. I forgot to call you back. My phone died, and then Mark's car broke down." The words tumbled out, each excuse contradicting the last. I stepped into the warm house, my bags heavy in my hands. The dining room was visible from the entryway. Empty plates, wine glasses, the ruins of a Christmas feast. The table was set for exactly the number of people present. No empty chair, no place setting waiting for me. "Arthur!" Robert stood up from the table, genuine surprise and warmth in his voice. "We had no idea you were still at the airport." Linda got up too. Her face showed real concern. "You poor man. You must be exhausted." 35 calls, Amanda. I set my bags down carefully, precisely. 35. The room went quiet. Mark shifted uncomfortably in his chair, unable to meet my eyes. "We were just about to head out to get you," Amanda continued desperately. Right, Mark? Mark mumbled something about technical issues. But his face told the truth. He looked like a man caught in his wife's web of lies. I see you managed to have Christmas dinner without me, I said quietly. Robert looked confused. Amanda said you weren't getting in until tomorrow morning, that your flight was delayed. The silence stretched across the dining room like a taut wire. The color drained from Amanda's face. Mark suddenly found his wineglass fascinating. Tomorrow morning, I repeated slowly. Linda moved quickly to break the tension. Arthur, you poor, poor man. You must be absolutely starving. Let me get you a clean plate. She hurried toward the kitchen, maternal instincts overriding the awkwardness. Robert motioned to an empty chair next to him, his judicial mind clearly processing the discrepancy between what Amanda had told them and what was actually happening. Please sit, Robert said warmly. We'll get this all sorted out, but first you need food and rest. I settled into the chair, carefully placing my gift bags beside me. The expensive burgundy bag holding Amanda's emerald necklace rested against my leg, a reminder of misplaced generosity. Amanda launched into nervous chatter. Dad's okay. Right, Dad? Just a little mix-up with the cars. You know how crazy holiday travel can be. 35 phone calls, I said quietly, cutting through her babble. Mark's fork clattered against his plate. Linda returned with a hot plate of turkey and fixings, setting it in front of me with gentle efficiency. You must tell us about your flight, Arthur. Was the weather bad? These holiday delays can be just terrible. No weather issues, I replied, accepting the coffee she poured. Clear skies all the way. Robert leaned forward slightly. So your flight arrived on time? At 2:47 this afternoon. I took a careful bite of turkey, though my appetite had vanished hours ago. Landed exactly on schedule. The math of the deception hung in the air. If your flight landed at 2:47 p.m., and it's after 11 p.m. now, that's 8 hours, Robert said, his voice taking on the tone of a man used to examining facts. You've been here for 8 hours? Amanda jumped in frantically. No, he just got here. The cars were... I waited at the airport, I said simply. I called Amanda several times. No one answered. Linda's hand flew to her heart. Oh my goodness, you were at the airport alone for 8 hours? On Christmas Day? Mark mumbled something about technical difficulties, but his voice lacked conviction. He couldn't look anyone in the eye, especially his father. Arthur, Robert said carefully, if you needed a ride, you should have called us. We would have come immediately. I didn't have your number memorized, and I kept waiting. I looked at Amanda, who was gripping her wineglass and so hard her knuckles were white. I kept waiting for someone to answer when I called. Linda reached over and patted my hand. You poor man. 8 hours, and we had no idea. We thought you weren't coming until tomorrow morning. That's what Amanda told you, I confirmed. The room fell silent again. Amanda's nervous laugh filled the void like nails on a chalkboard. Well, he's here now, she said brightly. That's what's important, right, Mark? Mark nodded unenthusiastically, still avoiding eye contact with everyone at the table. Robert's expression had changed. As a retired federal judge, he had spent decades listening to testimony, weighing evidence, detecting inconsistencies. His daughter-in-law had told him Arthur wasn't arriving until tomorrow. Yet, here was Arthur, having waited 8 hours for a pickup that never came. Amanda, Robert said slowly, perhaps you could explain the confusion about Arthur's arrival time. I must have misunderstood. Amanda's voice went sharp. You know how travel plans are. Things change. But Robert was not a man to be satisfied with vague explanations. His eyes flickered from Amanda to Mark to me, piecing together a picture that was clearly disturbing him. I continued to eat mechanically, each bite tasteless. The gift bag sat beside my chair like accusers, filled with expressions of love for people who had deliberately abandoned me. Excuse me, I said quietly, setting down my fork. I need to use the restroom. Linda was immediately concerned. Of course, dear. Down the hall, first door on the right. I walked slowly down the dimly lit hallway, my steps muffled by the thick carpet I had helped Amanda pay for. The bathroom door was slightly ajar, but voices from the kitchen stopped me cold. Amanda and Mark, whispering, thinking they were alone. I wish he hadn't shown up tonight, Mark said, his voice laced with the exasperation he'd hidden all evening. My hand froze on the bathroom doorknob. He always embarrasses us in front of your parents, Amanda snapped back, her tone casual, dismissive. Those stupid stories about building his business from scratch, like he's some kind of tycoon. The words hit like physical blows. Stupid stories. I had built my auto parts business from a $5,000 loan into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Your dad just doesn't understand how to act around people like my parents, Mark continued. The way he talks, his mannerisms, it's uncomfortable. People like Robert and Linda, people who had always treated me with respect and warmth. I was hoping if we ignored him long enough today, he'd just go home, Amanda said. I heard the clink of plates being loaded into the dishwasher. Maybe he'd get the hint that we don't really want him here. Over 8 hours of deliberate cruelty designed to make me leave. My legs felt weak. I grabbed the doorframe for support, forcing myself to keep listening. The way he talks about his little auto parts stores, like he built Microsoft or something. Amanda laughed softly. It's just embarrassing. Little auto parts stores, 12 branches, 30 years of 16-hour days, missed vacations, sacrificed comfort, all so she could have every opportunity I never had. Maybe next Christmas we just don't invite him, Mark suggested. Tell him we're going on a trip or something. Perfect, Amanda agreed immediately. Your parents are so sophisticated, so educated. Dad means well, but he's just not. They're kind. All that working-class charm might have been fine when I was younger, but not now. Not their kind. Robert, who had spent 30 minutes last Christmas asking thoughtful questions about auto parts distribution. Linda, who had listened with genuine interest to my stories about customer service philosophy. My breath grew shallow, sharp. Each word cut deeper into what was left of my fatherly pride. At least the money situation will be resolved soon, Amanda said, her voice taking on a more practical tone. Once he, well, you know, the inheritance, then we won't have to pretend to care about these awkward family gatherings. The inheritance. They were waiting for me to die. I stood in that hallway, surrounded by the warmth of a house I had helped buy, listening to my daughter discuss my death like a business transaction, the emerald necklace in my coat pocket, 3 generations of family history. It suddenly felt like a joke, an expensive punchline played on an old fool. Something inside me crystallized, hardened. The wounded father began to morph into something else entirely. I reached into my coat and felt the sealed envelopes containing $175,000, money I had planned to give freely, joyfully, out of love. Now it would serve a different purpose. I squared my shoulders and touched my wallet, feeling the outline of the checks inside. Amanda wanted my money. She could have it, but she was going to earn every devastating cent. My footsteps echoed deliberately as I walked back toward the kitchen. Amanda and Mark were still there, loading the dishwasher, their voices now lowered in normal conversation. They looked up as I entered. Amanda's face held casual curiosity, the expression of someone expecting their father to return from the bathroom, not someone about to face devastating consequences. I heard every word you just said. The plate in Amanda's hand slipped. It would have shattered on the tile floor if Mark hadn't reflexively caught it. Dad? Amanda's voice came out small, uncertain. 8 hours in an airport, I continued, my voice controlled, but rising. 35 unanswered calls. And you two were in here discussing how I embarrass you in front of Robert and Linda? The color drained from Amanda's face. Mark recoiled, bumping against the counter. Dad, you don't understand. We weren't talking about you like that. Amanda's words tumbled out. You took it out of context. Context? I stepped forward, blocking her path to the dining room. You said you wished I hadn't shown up tonight. You called my business stories stupid. You planned to never invite me to Christmas again. We never meant to hurt you. Amanda's voice grew sharp, more desperate. The car really did break down. I pointed toward the window overlooking the driveway. 2 cars out there, both working perfectly, both available to pick up your father who waited 8 hours at an airport on Christmas Day. Mark cleared his throat nervously. Maybe we didn't express ourselves well. It's been a long day for everyone. Express yourselves well? My voice carried decades of undiscovered disappointment. You laughed at my little auto parts stores. 12 branches, Mark. 30 years of 16-hour days so Amanda could have everything I never did. You're overreacting, Amanda said, but her voice cracked. We love you. You know that. Love me. The word felt bitter in my mouth. You told Mark that once I'm dead and you get the inheritance, You won't have to pretend to care about these awkward family gatherings anymore. The kitchen went silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of Robert and Linda's conversation from the dining room. Amanda stared at me, eyes wide. How? You weren't standing in the hallway? Yes, I was. Listening to my daughter discuss my death like a business transaction? Absolutely. Mark shifted uncomfortably, looking everywhere but at my face. Your father misunderstood what we meant, Amanda. We should all calm down and talk rationally. Misunderstood. I pulled out my phone and showed them the call log. 35 attempts. Would you like to explain how I misunderstood that too? Amanda tried a different approach, her voice taking on a pleading tone. Dad, we were just stressed. It's been a crazy day and we said things we didn't mean. Stressed? I cut her off. You were relaxed, comfortable, planning my exclusion from future holidays while I was sitting 20 miles away, wondering if you were dead in a car crash. The voices from the dining room grew quieter, Robert and Linda probably wondering what was taking so long. People like Robert and Linda, I continued, repeating Amanda's exact phrase, too sophisticated for someone with working-class mannerisms. Is that what you told them about why I wasn't coming until tomorrow? Amanda's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. Decades, I said quietly. Decades believing I raised a daughter who loved her father. Tonight, I found out I raised someone who is ashamed of me. Footsteps came from the dining room. Robert appeared in the doorway, followed closely by Linda, both with worried expressions. Is everything all right? Robert asked, his judicial instincts clearly picking up the tension. We heard raised voices. Robert, Linda, I said, my voice firm. Please come in. There are some things you need to know. Amanda shot me a look of pure panic. Dad, please, don't what? I cut her off. Don't tell them the truth? We moved into the living room. Robert and Linda settled on the couch while Amanda and Mark remained standing, their discomfort obvious. I stood near my gift bags, the colorful packages now serving a very different purpose. Robert, you asked earlier about my flight delay, I began. Let me tell you what really happened. Amanda tried to interrupt. Dad, maybe we should discuss this in private. 8 hours, I continued, speaking directly to Robert and Linda. I spent 8 hours at O'Hare International today. I called Amanda 35 times. No one answered. Linda's hand flew to her heart. 8 hours? On Christmas Day? But the car trouble, Robert started. Then he paused as he processed the timeline. His legal mind was clearly working on the discrepancies. There was no car trouble, I said simply. 2 working vehicles were in the driveway all day. They deliberately ignored my calls because they were hoping I would give up and go home. Robert's face darkened. This is completely unacceptable. How could you mistreat Arthur this way? We made a mistake, Amanda said desperately, but we can explain. You made a mistake? Linda's voice carried the moral indignation of someone who'd spent decades teaching young people about ethics. You deliberately abandoned him at an airport on Christmas? I picked up the burgundy gift bag and pulled out the first envelope. I came here tonight with Christmas presents, generous ones. The envelope felt substantial in my hands. Official bank letterhead, certified funds, careful planning. This check, I held up Amanda's envelope, is for $50,000. Mark's contains the same amount. The college fund for Mia totals $75,000. Amanda's face went white. $175,000, I continued. Money I plan to give freely, out of love. Mark found his voice. Dad, Arthur, we can fix this. Please, don't make any permanent decisions based on one bad night. While I was waiting at the airport, I looked at Robert and Linda, wondering if they were dead in an accident. They were here eating Christmas dinner. And afterward, I overheard them discussing how I embarrassed them in front of you, how my business stories are stupid, how I don't know how to act around people like you. And Robert stood up, his face flushed with anger. Arthur, I'm deeply ashamed of my son's behavior. This is unconscionable. The money will fund my trips to Europe instead, I announced, tucking the checks back into my coat. As for my will, which currently leaves my entire estate to Amanda, that is going to change immediately. Amanda's composure finally broke. Arthur, Dad, you don't mean that. We're family. Family? I looked at her with cold eyes. Family doesn't abandon each other on Christmas. Family doesn't mock a life's work. Family doesn't plan to exclude each other from future holidays. Linda came over and touched my arm gently. Arthur, we had no idea what you've endured. This is just heartbreaking. Almost $3 million, I said, watching Amanda's face. That's what tonight has cost you. The immediate gifts, plus your inheritance, are gone. The room was silent, except for the ticking of Amanda's expensive clock. Bought, no doubt, with money I had provided over the years. The luxury hotel downtown glowed under the streetlights as my cab pulled up to the entrance. 1:30 a.m., but I felt more awake than I had in years. The doorman helped me with my luggage, a single suitcase now, no gift bags to weigh down my arms or my conscience. The crystal chandeliers cast a warm light on the marble floors as I approached the front desk. Behind the polished counter, a young woman with kind eyes looked up from her computer. Welcome to our hotel. How can I help you tonight? I need a room for an extended stay, I said, my voice holding a new confidence. At least a month, possibly longer. Of course, sir. We have excellent long-stay rates available. Her fingers moved efficiently across the keyboard. Business or pleasure? Purely pleasure. The words felt strange but wonderful. I'm starting an entirely new chapter in my life. She smiled genuinely. How exciting. Any specific amenities you'd like to ensure are included? I thought of Amanda's house, the house I'd helped buy, where I'd been treated like an inconvenience. The best suite you have. Money is no object. 20 minutes later, I was in a corner suite overlooking the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the city lights stretching out toward the lake. I dropped my suitcase on the king-sized bed and walked to the window, pressing my palm against the cool glass. For the first time in years. I was spending money on myself. The leather chair at the mahogany desk felt luxurious as I settled in with the hotel's courtesy laptop. European travel sites filled the screen, the Tuscany region in Italy, the Loire Valley in France, the coastal cities of Spain. 175,000 would fund months of first-class accommodations, Michelin-starred restaurants, private tours of art galleries I had only dreamed of visiting. I pulled out my wallet and looked at the space where the checks for Amanda and Mark had been. Empty now, but not with loss, with possibility. Those envelopes were safe in my coat pocket, along with Mia's college fund, money that would create memories for me instead of funding ingratitude. My phone buzzed with a text message. Amanda. Dad, please call. We can fix this. I deleted it without responding. The hotel phone sat next to a leather binder. I picked up the receiver and dialed the concierge. Good evening, sir. How can we enhance your stay? I'd like to speak with someone about European travel packages tomorrow, the most comprehensive options available. Of course. I'll arrange for our top travel consultant to meet with you at your convenience. Any particular regions of interest? All of them, I said, surprising myself with the freedom in that statement. I have the time and the resources to see whatever interests me. After hanging up, I went to the bathroom. Marble countertops, heated floors, a bathtub that could comfortably hold 2 people. The face in the mirror looked different than it had this morning. Tired, yes, but not defeated. The eyes held something new. Satisfaction. I went back to the desk and opened the binder, finding elegant hotel stationery. With the hotel's gold-plated pen, I began to take notes. Spring in Italy, summer on the French Riviera, autumn in Spain, winter wherever the warmth called me. No schedules dictated by ungrateful children, no holiday visits to people who mocked my life's work, no more sacrificing my happiness for those who saw my generosity as a weakness. The clock on the nightstand read 1:55 a.m. In 6 hours, the travel consultant would be helping me plan adventures I had put off for decades. In a week, I could be boarding a flight to Rome. In a month, I could be sipping wine in a Tuscan vineyard, telling stories to people who might actually appreciate them. I leaned back in the chair and looked out at the city lights, feeling truly free for the first time in years. If you like this story, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts on this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for listening.